Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've bought anything, sold anything, or really even just browsed online in the last, say, 20 years, you know the entire game has changed.
Completely.
So today, our mission is to cut through all of that noise. We're going to deliver the essential insights from the research we've compiled, detailing exactly how social media has, well, fundamentally reshaped business branding and customer engagement.
It's a huge topic.
It is. And for context, I think it helps to just think about the world before 2005. Marketing was basically a monologue, delivered through print or radio or TV,
A one-way street.
a total one-way street. Now, that conversation is happening in this dynamic global amphitheater. You've got Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube.
All of them. And they're not just channels for ads.
No, not at all. They are the actual living, breathing environments where a brand's identity is constructed, it's tested, and sometimes completely destroyed.
And that transition, it's not just about shifting ad spend. It's a complete reorganization of business priorities. The sources we looked at really highlight that social media is now foundational to achieving brand equity.
It's not just an add-on anymore.
Not at all. It moves businesses away from just selling products and really pushes them toward building communities. The research crystallized the why it matters into 4 interconnected capacities: establishing visibility, building credibility through relationships, customer service, and, this is critical, leveraging data for smarter, highly customized marketing.
Okay, let's unpack that shift. Starting with the first part, section 1, visibility and identity. The biggest, most immediate change the research points to is just the sheer efficiency of reach.
Right.
Compared to traditional media buys, social media gives brands, instantaneous access to a global audience. It boosts visibility at a significantly lower cost. You don't need millions for a Super Bowl ad to get noticed anymore.
The low cost is only half the story, though. The real difference is in the medium itself. We've seen this rise of visual-first platforms, especially Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
And they force companies to communicate their values through really powerful multimedia storytelling, through curated aesthetics. It's a shift from talking about product features to communicating a lifestyle the specific demographics want to identify with.
And success on those channels is now dictated by these gatekeepers. We don't control the algorithms. We used to just say, algorithms amplify content, but that feels a little basic now. What specifics did the research uncover about what performing well actually means today?
Well, it's highly nuanced. And that's because different platforms optimize for totally different metrics. So, for example, the sources indicate that TikTok and YouTube, they optimize heavily for things like dwell time and completion rates.
So how long you can keep someone watching?
Exactly. How long do you keep that user engaged? But then you have a platform like LinkedIn, which might optimize for, say, share velocity and comments, because it favors professional discussion. Brands have to understand these specific algorithm sensitivities to even get their content seen.
Okay, but that immediately brings up attention, right? If a brand needs to perform well on all these different platforms, they have to adapt their presentation for each one. Doesn't that sort of contradict the old goal of a monolithic, totally consistent brand identity? How does a coherent identity even survive that?
That is precisely the modern dilemma the research gets into. Firms are still required to curate a coherent identity. You have to maintain that unified imagery, those expressed values, but the tone has to flex. The key insight here is that consistency is now defined less by the content itself and more by the underlying values being expressed. So a bank's tone on TikTok might be light, maybe even humorous,
Right.
but the core value, financial security, that has to remain consistent with their more formal presentation on LinkedIn. If that core value cracks, the entire brand identity can fail.
And that's where that fourth capacity you mentioned, leveraging data, becomes so critical for adaptation. Before, if a big campaign failed, you'd wait 6 months for a market research report.
Now the feedback is instant.
Instant.
Exactly. These platforms are massive data sponges. Every share, every comment, they all provide these rich data points about demographics, sentiment, even purchase intent. Brands aren't guessing what their audience thinks anymore.
So what are they doing instead?
They're using sentiment analysis tools, pulling from all that social data to do real-time triage. If a new product launch is being met with, say, confusion or negative feedback, the brand can pivot its messaging or even the product itself in days, not months. This ability to instantly adjust, that's what strengthens the emotional connection.
It's an ongoing conversation, not a finished statement.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But all that curated imagery, all that data-informed messaging, it's kind of meaningless unless customers actually trust it, which I think flows perfectly into Section 2, authenticity and the power of user-generated content, or UGC.
Yes, UGC. So those customer reviews, unsolicited posts, testimonials, this is maybe the single greatest source of brand credibility today. And what's fascinating here is the psychological mechanism at work. The research confirms that consumers see peer opinions as, well, infinitely more reliable than corporate messaging.
We're talking about the fundamental difference between earned media and paid media, aren't we?
Precisely. Paid media, like an ad, is the brand saying, trust us, we're
Well,
great.
Right.
But earned media, which is what UGC basically is the community saying, hey, we use them and they are great. That social proof is just seen as unbiased validation.
And the power of that endorsement is just massive. We've seen brands get so much more sophisticated than just, hoping a happy customer posts something. They're actively encouraging UGC now through very structured tactics. What kind of proactive strategies did the research highlight?
The most effective ones seem to involve creating these low barrier to entry ways for people to participate. Think about viral challenges on TikTok or branded contests where the prize is tied to user participation and sharing. By giving customers a specific hashtag or a fun prompt, brands are systematically integrating themselves into their users' daily digital lives.
And the result is this cycle, right? The more users create and share content about the brand, the more visibility and authenticity the brand gets.
And the more engagement and organic reach they achieve.
It effectively turns your own customer base into this distributed, highly trusted marketing force.
And this cycle is so critical because it directly addresses the modern consumer's skepticism. If a brand is confident enough to encourage real, unfiltered feedback, even knowing some of it might be negative.
Which it will be.
Oh, it will be. But that signals transparency and humility. And that really is the new currency of trust. The research clearly links active UGC promotion to enhance brand credibility and, at the end of the day, higher customer conversion rates.
That focus on active communication, on immediate feedback, it brings us right to our final theme. Section 3. Bidirectional communication and customer service. Before, if you wanted to complain or ask a question, you'd call a 1-800 number and wait on hold forever. Now, you just tweet at them.
Or send a DM. And that shift from a one-way channel to a two-way exchange is monumental. Social media platforms are fundamentally built for real-time conversation. This interactivity, it isn't just about marketing anymore. It's about relationship building at scale.
I see.
By engaging in comments and direct messages, companies are fostering deeper ties and getting these immediate, direct insights into their customers' needs. And they're often bypassing expensive, traditional market research entirely.
And the speed of that conversation is what's truly disruptive for businesses. It's not just that customers can reach out, it's that they expect an immediate resolution. Social media has become the default customer service desk for a huge chunk of the population.
Absolutely. And the research highlights the double-edged sword here. When users go to X or Facebook to ask questions or report issues, they are operating with an expectation of transparency and speed.
Right.
So for brands, this means customer service has to be operational, basically, 24/7. And a failure to respond promptly, or even worse, responding with some canned generic answer that can damage loyalty just as quickly as a good resolution can build it.
So the quality of the response is everything, but it's the speed of the response that dictates whether that interaction stays private or becomes, a public spectacle.
Precisely. Brands that respond promptly and, most importantly, effectively are demonstrating that they're attentive and they're transparent. These are the traits that are paramount for boosting customer loyalty. Think of it like a restaurant. If it has great food, but the wait times are terrible.
The bad experience overshadows the quality.
Exactly. On social media, the speed of your interaction is the wait time.
It's just fascinating how social media forces a kind of honesty. If a customer reports an issue publicly, the whole community can see how the brand handles it. That transparency is just, it's unavoidable.
And this level of interaction is also shaping the product itself. The research found that companies are now systematically aggregating common service complaints or frequently asked questions they see in DMs and comments, and they're feeding that data directly back into product development or their FAQ documentation.
So the customer, just through their service needs, becomes an active participant in improving the business.
That's right.
So if we step back and just look at the big picture here, social media is essential. It's moved branding from this static, expensive advertising to a dynamic, data-informed, and constantly evolving identity. And it turned customer engagement from passive reception into this active, two-way relationship, demanding speed and authenticity.
That summarizes the core findings perfectly. The research is clear. To thrive today, businesses must use social media's power for real-time contact, tailored communication, and community building. It is completely non-negotiable for having a real market presence.
But every revolutionary tool comes with risks. The source material also outlines several pretty critical challenges that put pressure on all the strategies we just discussed.
Yes, the opportunities are vast, but the landscape is hostile in a few ways. The challenges include, well, intense rivalry among competitors for every second of a user's attention, persistent privacy concerns about the massive amounts of data being collected,
Yeah, that's a big one.
and, maybe the most volatile of all, significant reputational threats.
We've touched on how brands use data to adapt, but that reliance on data just inevitably brings up those privacy concerns. The sheer volume of personal information being leveraged.
Absolutely. The tension lies in the need for personalization versus the ethical management of user data. Companies need that data to be effective, but every data breach or controversial use of that data immediately erodes the trust they worked so hard to build with UGC and fast customer service.
And then there's the reputational threat. Because all these interactions are public and they're instantaneous, a single misstep, a poorly worded tweet, an inauthentic response, a perceived failure to address a social issue, it can instantly spiral into a reputational crisis.
The term cancel culture is very real for brands in this environment.
Yeah.
So the conclusion of the research is that a company's market presence can only be truly enhanced if they approach social media strategically, ethically, and morally. It's a constant tightrope walk between being visible and being vulnerable.
And the key takeaway through all of this seems to be adaptation. Businesses have to constantly modify their tactics as the digital environments, user habits, and algorithms all change. It's a never-ending game of evolution.
The moment you think you've mastered a platform, the platform changes.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. We've established that this constant tactical modification is necessary, but the research highlighted these extreme risks related to both reputational threats, like the viral potential of cancel culture, and privacy concerns, data breaches, misuse of targeting information. So given the constant immediate pressure for brands to increase their public visibility, which of those two specific risks, reputational threats or privacy concerns, do you think requires the most immediate strategic attention and resource allocation from brands right now? It really is the ultimate tension defining the modern digital market, the risk of being too visible versus the risk of collecting too much.